Hey guys, it's Austin. So I wanted to make a little video about a topic that I was writing about today when I was writing my Medium post. So something I want to talk about today is the relationship between religion and politics. No, I get it. Those are the two things that your mom told you never to talk about, especially at Thanksgiving with the relatives, because then somebody, most likely, that one eccentric uncle is going to get upset about something or is going to start ranting about politics that you don't care about, and then before you know it, the whole family situation's messed up. Thanksgiving is ruined, and you haven't even had any turkey yet. So, but that's all. We're not talking about that. There's no uncles. There's nothing crazy going on here. So here's what we're gonna do instead. Okay. I want to talk about the relationship because I believe that the two are more intertwined than you would believe. Now, when I say religion, I'm mostly referring to the Christian church because that is what I am most familiar with. Fairly familiar with Judaism as well because my family is Jewish. And Muslims are an interesting case as well. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about those three in particular. I'm not a huge scholar in Buddhism or Hinduism or Taoism or anything else. So I don't want to talk too much about things I don't know anything about because there's not really a point in doing that. So we're going to talk about those three in particular. You cannot sit there and tell me that there is a zero sum relationship between those three and the politics that you see, especially in Judaism and in Islam especially. Now Christians are a little bit more of a mix because there's so many different denominations, so many different branches. It's unbelievable. It's like looking at a tree, okay? With Jesus being the trunk and the branches going everywhere, and everybody has their own opinion, view, whatever you want to call it. But if you look at the Middle East, you look at the kings, the sultans even of the Ottoman Empire, you can't sit there and tell me that there's not a connection. In fact, you look at Sharia law, or whether even if it's Orthodox, ultra Orthodox Judaism, they have very similar laws in place and rules, whether it's kosher food laws or halal foods. It's meant to pretty much consume your entire existence, which someone argues for the better and some would argue for the worse, but I'm not here to argue for the philosophy of it because it's too complex for me to talk about, and frankly, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything. I don't. But when it comes down to it, the politics that are involved in that are very direct and they're very apparent. If you really want to look at how they're run, look at Saudi Arabia, for example. It is it's pretty much a theocracy disguised as a monarchy. Iran, same story. Iraq, same story. It's the same idea of the divine right of kings that if you've taken any European history class, you'll know what I'm talking about. The divine right of kings was the thought process that God gave the kings their right to rule the people. Now, democracies work the other way around. The people give the power to the politicians. It's a bottom-up system, from the roots up, versus in history, you can mostly see the opposite of top-down. Whether it's trickle-down economics, trickle-down tyranny, doesn't matter. It's the same idea. Now, when you look at Christianity, it's fundamentally similar in the form of the Catholic Church and all of the rites, all of the sacraments that they have. At least it was up until the creation of democracy, namely America, and then a lot of other nations followed suit because America has been so successful up until this point, which some would argue that those times are behind us. I would like to think that that is not true, that we're really just in a hiccup and that it will get better. And if I choose to believe that, because I think about the moment I cease to believe that, I'll be a nihilist, and I don't want to be a nihilist. But back to what we were talking about before. The relationship between religion and politics is very, very apparent. And I'm not one that wants them to always be intertwined. I think that's very dangerous, and it's the death of free speech. or the death of even freedom to think and express yourself, because then you're living in a theocracy. Theocracy is historically not that great, considering that, let's be honest, if God was a politician, people would most likely vote for him. But he's not. He's a more behind the scenes kind of guy, at least nowadays, if you read the Old Testament. He's more behind the scenes kind of guy. So you got to settle for the second best, which is just people who say they speak for God, which is even more dangerous considering that historically, not great. Really not great. People like to, take power when they're not supposed to, not give it back, little certain things, that are mildly important. Oh, by the way, I am working on getting an editor so that this is not just me talking and there's something interesting to actually listen to besides just me talking. I know I can sound really enthusiastic and amazing and very interesting, but if I can't stand myself talking in a room by myself without anything, I can only imagine how you do it. So, no worries, that is in the works, and I will make sure to really make the show interesting because I want everybody to A, be entertained, and B, be educated. So, anyways, I wanted to bring that up. If you want to learn more about it, I went into more detail on my Medium post that I wrote. It's the same handle as what my YouTube channel, Austin Creed. Anyways, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I appreciate you listening to One Man's Opinion. Peace out. We're out of here.